You guys see that KDH and 6-string TV are fighting? Could have at least waited until I finished making this video. That is straight hair and glasses behavior. Those of us with effortlessly beautiful curly hair and glasses will be over here with all the ladies. Sorry my hair's still a little wet. You know what they say. Dearly beloved, I've gathered you all here today to celebrate me finally becoming a part of the 0.1%. I'm not talking millionaire or even billionaire. Please. Zuckerberg, Musk, all the bald ones, they are peasants, bumpkins, ants in my presence. Much like the Great Gatsby, I was not born into old money, but through quick and very mysterious ways, I've gotten there, my friends. I did say last week that I was not secret society white. This week, however... Come on, you really think I'd join the super secret boy band of beta bitch billionaires? Please. You know Daddy Den-Den's always gonna keep it real, but how did such a humble, laid-back, brilliant, handsome love machine like myself acquire such wealth so quickly? Well, my friends, that answer is simple. And don't you worry, you're not gonna get grifted out of your money to get that answer. I don't need to do that. That is for men of the streets, hobo behavior. No, my friends, all I did to gain such vast, unimaginable wealth was buy this guitar 3 years ago. This is the most solid instrument I have ever played in my entire life. I'm talking POTUS at one of his child beauty pageants. Solid. A guitar so bafflingly beautiful, astonishingly well built, and stupid fun to play that I thought this thing was gonna be the face of my favorite brand for decades to come. But just like the original Sunburst Les Paul Standard, this guitar would be discontinued after only 3 years in production. However, just like Office Space, Speed Racer, and the Cat in the Hat, I know for a fact that time is gonna show just how special these guitars really are. And once people realize that, they're gonna be giving up their daddy's diamond mine to get one. So if you want in on this gravy train, you better find yourself one fast, buster. Because based off my current metrics, there are more ways to get diarrhea in the United States right now than there are numbers of this guitar out there. Guys, last week's video was a real ass sandwich. I took that line from John, one of my channel members. And you can also pay me to steal your jokes using those 2 buttons down below. But yeah, last week's video really was a hoagie full of heinies, a caca cubano, a baguette of butts, a rear end Reuben, BLT, more like BUT, T. But this week's video is gonna be all about glazing my LTD EC1000T CTM in vintage gold satin. That is right, boys and girls. After only 3 short years, our beloved ESP LTD is no longer making this specific version of the EC1000. I saw a while ago that Sweetwater had these things on blowout for like 600 or 700 eddies. So if you bought one then, GG's, my friend. You are genuinely the modern day equivalent of those guys that bought their 59 for $200. And I hope you enjoy that generational wealth. Take care of your mom. I remember folks were losing their beans over this guitar when it was revealed at the beginning of 2022. Everyone was making reaction videos, busting in their britches over this guitar specifically. Every shop that carried LTDs was bombarded with pre-orders for this guitar. Then we all waited in excitement for it to arrive. 3 months go by, a perfectly normal time on a perfectly normal year. But this was not a normal year. This was the year where the setbacks of COVID really started to hit the consumer square in the jaw. This was also the year someone at Big Oil was just like, hey, what if we just price gouge the shit out of gas? Like, who's gonna stop us? The rotting right-leaning centrists in office?
My balls.
So we were all aware that there was going to be a delay. ESP and LTD told us just straight away. 6 months go by, still a bit bearable, but we're starting to get a little antsy. Next thing you know, it's been 9 months. And at this point I was fiending for a jaundiced Les Paul Custom so bad that my Epiphone started drinking while we waited. Because an aged white Les Paul Custom for less than $5,000 did not exist at this point. Suddenly, It had been a whole calendar year. ESP and LTD are announcing their 2023 year models before the 2022 models had even come out. People were starting to think these might be the one thing that will be released after GTA 6. But finally, in February of 2023, these guitars started showing up. I saw this one get listed on Reverb, and I bought it immediately and then canceled my pre-order. Now, I'm no business major, but announcing a brand new product, giving everyone over a year to forget about it, announcing even newer products, and then finally releasing those first products might not be the best way to generate massive sales of said product. I've officially said product so many times that it just feels like I'm saying gibberish now. However, as we all know, a lot of that was not in ESP's control. It was not really in a lot of the guitar industry's control, if we're being real. Nevertheless, the damage had been done. These guitars were finally in stock, but no one remembered that they existed. I did, because I'm an OCD freak, and I check literally every day for over a year. But despite being forgotten to time and attention disorders, this still just might be the magnum opus of EC1000s. Maybe even the magnum opus of LTD's entire catalog. This is a very dusty woman. Strings are deader than Mitch McConnell. Only vegetable the USDA hasn't recalled. Come here, boy. I got some brand new string Josephs for this little lady. I don't know if you guys will be able to see. I got a gnarly paper cut. My fingers are a wee bit sensitive. Bro, look at how much cleaner that already is. Jesus. Do I add this too? Oh, I'm gonna add this. And then I'm gonna add this. I'm gonna add this. Feck. We have time for this, for these antics. I don't like having a chapped ass. I know the lighting right here is not the best. Sorry, John, I'm having a little bit of trouble figuring out how to properly light this scene to give you guys an accurate display of this guitar's beauty. Playing farting. Oh, fuck. Shoulder checked my light there, Tom. That was almost a disaster. My wife left me for a man that had locking tuners when I didn't. I'm never making that mistake again. A beautiful sound to hear, Tom, I tell you what. And I gotta tell you, Tom, after getting to use these locking tuners for many years on end, I understand why my wife did what she did. Honestly, I would have done the same thing. I'm turning the tides of this video. You guys don't mind if I just leave the camera right there for the rest of this part, do you? That was, of course, just a joke, my friends. If my associate Steve hadn't have moved the camera, he would have been executed on sight, Tom. Well, Tom, this is looking like a brand spanking new guitar. Unfortunately, that is gonna conclude my part in today's video. And due to the network stalling on renewing my contract, I don't know if I'm ever gonna see you guys again. Now that her and I are both in our Sunday best, let's answer that question that's been burning a hole in your noggin. Why do I think these guitars are gonna be worth unfathomable amounts of money one day? Well, if I really need to explain it to you. For starters, holy farts, guys. It's the greatest guitar I've ever played in my life. I'm not kidding. I'm not sponsored by LTD. It's not like I can get Zounds affiliate money by saying that because they don't make this guitar anymore. I really do think that the Eclipse / EC1000 body shape is the Les Paul perfected for the modern day. I've yapped about that in like 50 videos now. If the very first Les Paul was the Mark I from the first Iron Man, then this guitar is the Mark 85 from Avengers Endgame. But this specific version right here, the EC1000T CTM in vintage gold satin, I believe this is the shining example of everything that makes LTD my favorite guitar brand. Full thickness, solid mahogany body, a maple cap, a mahogany neck with an ebony fingerboard, tunematic bridge, 2 humbucking pickups, classic Les Paul specs, but further modernized with better upper fret access, locking tuners, streamlined tone and volume controls, the perfect neck shape, girthy stainless steel frets that'll outlast your marriage, and multi-voice Fishman Fluence classics from the factory. However, you may have noticed that I swapped mine out with a satin gold EMG headset. The Fishman classics are great, but these inside of this guitar, that's what's up. Now, none of that is particularly unique to this guitar. There's other EC1000s that have almost the exact same specs. No, what makes this guitar special is this finish. Are we really gonna act like bro does not have this shit on? They call it vintage gold satin, but it is very clearly replicating the look of an aged white, yellowed out Les Paul Custom. One of the most famous and beloved looking guitars thanks to artists like Randy Rhoads, Steve Jones, and Randy Rhoads. But here's the thing, besides looking pretty fly for an aged white guy, like I mentioned earlier, a badass Les Paul Custom and liver failure has not been the most easy thing to acquire for most of recorded human history. That is until this menace became available to the world, even though no one knew it existed, which just makes this all the more tragic. Before this guitar, your options for an aged white Les Paul Custom were to spend a grip on a real vintage Les Paul Custom or to spend a grip on one of the Gibson custom shops that they would sometimes make. But once LTD kicked the door in and plopped this thing right on top of the Monopoly board, then we started seeing other brands finally take advantage of this amazing finish. There's not many, but at least now it is pretty attainable for the normal guitar player to get their hands on one if they want to, especially while the used prices of these stay low and while Firefly keeps theirs in stock. Because that one's like $300. That's sick. So now you too can join me in my quest of collecting every shade of white Les Paul Custom, from firstborn to stage 4 lung cancer. It's also a full thickness version with the binding on the back. The ESP Eclipses that came in this finish didn't have that. And they gave us the multiply binding on the back while still carving out the neck joint and improving the upper fret access. This right here is something Gibson won't even attempt. You either get multiply back binding or you get their weird attempt at replicating this neck carve. They won't give you both. LTD gave us both. They also did it in their amazing satin finish, which helps this custom stand just a bit taller than all the others. Gibson and Epiphone gate kept this finish of Les Paul Custom from the majority of guitar players for the majority of time that guitar playing has been around, because they hate being in our good graces, I guess. But then LTD pulls up, gives us a modernized version that's built better, spec'd better, and was sold for an incredibly reasonable price, and then was practically given away when they discontinued them. And yeah, if they discontinued them, then that just means they must not have sold, which is really unfortunate, because again, this is literally the best guitar that I've ever played in my entire life. It's beautiful, it plays and sounds amazing, but it's also just a rock. It literally hasn't moved since the day I got it. And yeah, it blows balls that they discontinued this guitar, but that's not really my problem. I waxed on poetically about this guitar for 3 years. So if you didn't buy one now and you can't get your hands on one for a reasonable price, that's kind of on you, my friend. All I gotta do now is sit back and enjoy the fact that I have this guitar for the rest of my life. And if you want to experience something equally as amazing, then again, I'd jump on it while the prices are still reasonable. Because this guitar is so goddamn good that I really feel like one day, the price of the ESP LTD EC1000T CTM and vintage gold satin is gonna become very unreasonable. But that is going to wrap up today's video, my friends. Thank you all so much for watching, especially if you made it this far. I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, definitely let me know. Leave a like on the video, leave a comment, give me your thoughts and opinions. I love to hear what you guys have to say. Share the video around. If you haven't subscribed by now, I'm going to sick the owl on you. Look at the names of these fine gentlemen. They are dashing. They are philanthropic. They are our current channel members, and their support really does mean a lot. If you want to join them, get a shout out in my longer videos, get access to the members only videos, and just help support this channel in a bigger way, then you can go down there, click the join button. Tiers start as low as 3 schmeckles. There's also the super thanks button if you just want to give me some money. But I'm done being a tool. Once again, thank you all so much for watching.
Au revoir.